Hello and welcome. My name is Danielle Painter. I'm part of the Digital Gov team. I am the distribution developer that's been helping out for a little bit of time. And in this training today, we're going to go over Drupal, how Drupal works with node, blocks, and views. There is a link that I did provide in the chat. You're welcome to follow along. There will be a couple points where I'll let you explore the environment and get a feel to what I'm talking about in this presentation. I would recommend that you log in as a power user, which is the second username and password in this slide here that you see. If I speak too fast, feel free to tell me to slow down. If you have questions, feel free to add them into the messages. Feel free to raise your hand. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I copied it. It should be /user at the end. Thank you, Laurie. We don't do the federal one for the training just because we don't have any of you guys. We don't know who shows up, obviously, and we can't add you guys as power users automatically. So we have these generic accounts. So you /user at the end of the URL will be used for in this case. Let us begin. So the first topic that we're going to briefly go over, there is a lot of slides in this. I'm happy to share this deck if you guys would like it later on, or I'm also happy to share this recording. But we'll try to go over it fairly quickly and let you guys explore. The first question is, what is a node, but what is also a content type? These kind of go very much hand in hand. Oh, sorry, let me go back and I'll keep talking. The content type and a node goes very hand in hand. If you think of it in a hierarchy sense, you have your content type first, and then it kind of funnels into a node, and that is what your page is. Let me also copy and paste. I'll paste the information there as well. I can go to the next slide for you. So a content type, just to kind of give you a hierarchy with it, it defines the various of defaults you could supply to your content you want to share, that you want to display to your end users. Each of these have a specific set number of fields that may be required for that particular type of content. For example, for an alert, you may have a section for categories to allow you to define how you want to categorize or how you want to display it. Basic page may only have, in this case for sure, it will only have a title and a body text. Your events might have fields that are relevant to dates or external links that you want to share to people. And the purpose of these content types is to allow you to have the ability to say to your content editor, hey, just click this. Here's the fields that you just need to fill out and don't worry about the rest. And that is what content types perform. It also is the baseline of the Drupal database for nodes. It helps kind of categorize them, and you will see it later on in the presentation when we go over views, how we can utilize content types as part of our sorting to call certain material out as well. You will be able to set kind of a lot of defaults with it, but that's more or less more of an advanced thing, not necessarily something we'll go over in this basic. But I wanted to give you guys familiar with the term content types because we do use it a lot in Drupal. Nodes is the other term that we use pretty often. And these are specific to the individual instance item that you make from the content types. These are the pages that you're showing. These are the data that you're displaying to your end users that they're seeing at your URL about, for instance. You have a list of these that you can edit, much as your standard content management system, where you can go through, you can edit, you can add your content. Typically, with the distribution that we provide, we help set up kind of templates and displays. So as you enter in certain items, it'll always be displayed the same. The primary function of a node is for the very specific content that you are trying to produce. You're able to give it a title, which will typically be at the top tab of your browsers. You're able to give it body information that you can funnel into views or just generically display. There's also the ability to set it so it shows up in a menu. You can change the metadata. You can, in our distribution, you can change the metadata. In our distribution, you can also do revisions. URL aliases is also an item you can change in this. If you don't want it to be whatever it manually populates or automatically populates with, you can always change it. You can also tell this page or this node particularly to publish on a certain time or to be unpublished or to change a date. So say you're migrating from another site and the new pages all show whatever import date that you added things into. You can go back, you can edit, you can tell the date it was published on a different day instead, and it will reflect that. So we'll let you guys kind of be familiar, if you're not already, with creating a basic page. On the training site, I will recopy and paste this because I saw we had a couple more people added. On the training site, as a power user, you will want to go ahead and create the basic page. When you log in as a power user, you will have a left side administrative bar. It's white. The second icon, if you hover over it, will say content. You can be able to choose add content from that menu. And I'd like for you guys to explore a little bit on adding just a generic page. Get familiar with some of the pieces that are on it on that menu and be familiar with where you can find the content later if you would like to edit it. I will give you guys about 5 minutes to kind of cycle through it. If you have questions, please let me know. You're welcome to ask questions as you move along. Yes, Olivia.
So, for context, this is very different than our Drupal site. So, for the URL alias, do we literally just type training slash and then just make something up?
Yep, you're more than welcome to. The
Okay,
idea here is just to let you guys be aware that you can change that URL.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
There are different versions of Drupal. I'm not sure which ones you guys have site-wise. Some of you may still be on Drupal 7, which will be a little different than 9.
Yeah,
I do want to.
we're working on getting switched. Julian's with my agency, sorry. So we're working on getting switched over to this platform. So we're still on Drupal 7 right now. With that said, should we still just continue just training like we are going to be switching over to that?
Yeah, I would
Cool.
definitely recommend being familiar. It works still very similarly. It's just the appearance may be a little different.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm getting tripped up at because I'm familiar with our Drupal 7. So that's where I was like, what is this? So perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, this at least will let you see kind of what you're about to get into, probably. Um, I do know that we are in the process of an SOW to go out and try to get the budget finalized to get the rest of you that are on Drupal 7 off of Drupal 7. Hopefully by the end of this year. Um, it we do want to make sure you guys are more up to date on everything. We are on a long-term contract with Pantheon right now for the Drupal 7 sites, but obviously that'll only last so far. All right, so I think that was about 5 minutes. So let me share my screen as well, just to kind of recap what the tasks were. For those tasks, you would have been able to find the add content area. On this multi-dev, I'm pretty sure we have this bare bones as well. I don't think there's anything really fancy or custom, so this should be what you guys see on the first go if you spin up a brand new site. The basic page, obviously you have your title, your body, you're able to toggle if it's published or not published. You can save, preview. We do provide revisions, so if you add a revision login or revision log message, there is a tab that you can go back and find it later to restore your pages if you accidentally messed something up by mistake. I do it all the time. I love revisions. It's the best thing in the world. So my spelling is horrible. You also have your menu settings where you are able to add it to a menu that you've already defined in your system. Meta tags, there's quite a lot of it there. You didn't really have to mess with it unless you really wanted to, but you're welcome. We do use what's called tokens in a lot of this, and what that is just a dynamic and programmable data field that we can say, whatever's in this field, plop it in here. So if you ever need to change the page title, the summary, when that pops up on SEOs, you're able to do that in these fields. There's also places elsewhere that you can do it more robust and everywhere at once kind of thing. Your URL alias is where you can either set it up with the predefined pattern that we already provide, or you're able to check it off and you can make your own as well. Authoring information is where you can actually change who it's authored by if your site actually uses the users as a form of display. Some people do with articles or news in some sites. You're also able to change when it was authored on. Promotion options, we don't really use those in this distribution. I know you'll see them even in Drupal 7 too. A bare bones Drupal site tends to use this, like the default page has a front page that just populates whatever is most recent when this is toggled. We don't worry about any of that on our distribution, so you don't have to worry about that. Once you, Ramel asked in chat if there's a way to change a content type. Once you create the item, it's set in stone in that specific content type. You can't change it without just recreating it in the different content type. But there are ways where I have seen if you guys do end up moving data to different content types later on, you can map the old URLs. There's a way of mapping the old URLs to the page and redirecting them. And so that's something you can look into if for some reason you accidentally had it on one content type for so long, but you ended up moving it for content strategy reasons that things ended up being different and you had to move it. There are ways to do that. And some of you, if you're brand new to this, you might have the question, how do you add more than just the body to a page, probably? When you guys saved your page, you more than I'm pretty sure you guys got brought to the page that you created. There is a tab at the very top underneath our main navigation that says layout. This tab will let you add more items into it. It'll let you add images, blocks. You can make different sections. So you could be 1 column, 2 column, and so forth. We have quite a bit of defaults that you can add to these pages, so you can make it out to be a little bit prettier than just a generic text page. And as I'm talking through, you're welcome to poke around that a little bit. We'll briefly kind of look at it when we get into the block section. And that leads us to blocks. Well, what is a block? Blocks are a reusable piece of content or functionality. Some people actually run scripts and blocks that can be added to your site. We add these sometimes in what we call regions, which are part of the theme that we use on the Drupal to make things look pretty. And sometimes we'll add them straight through Layout Builder itself. And much like nodes and content types, there is a block type in Drupal 9 and 10 and 11. And it behaves very similarly, where you make kind of your default block type and you can make content within it. It's very similar to paragraphs, and it uses a lot of the paragraph concept. So we'll go ahead and take a look at blocks to get you kind of familiar to where these exist. There are actually 2 ways of adding blocks, but the first way that we're going to talk about is going through the block layout menu. And to get there, you would do very similar to how you added your basic page. On the left-hand side, you will go to the 3rd icon, which is called structure. And under that, there will be a block layout page that you can click on to navigate to. And really quickly, because I know this page can get a little confusing, I'm going to swap it over so you guys are able to see what I'm talking about. When you go to block layout, we're going to pick any region you would want. This is what we call regions. They are areas that are consistent to every single page that your website has. I recommend just picking content, or even sidebar would work perfectly fine, and go ahead and use a place block. You're welcome to pick any of these that are already here. There's a couple demo ones that you're welcome to add. You can also add your own. I do recommend trying to add your own custom block and create something small. It doesn't have to be big. It could be an image, it could be mission and vision. It can be slideshow, just something basic. Doesn't have to be anything complex, and to follow the process for that. And what you'll find as you make these blocks, as mentioned in task 1.3, is there is an area when you place it, after you make it, when you place it, it will ask you about visibility. It's worth exploring that. The visibility, what that does is limit to where that block actually is going to be displayed. Like, is it going to be all the pages? Is it going to be one page? Is it going to be a certain content type of pages? I'll give you guys about 5 minutes to kind of poke through that, ask questions. You're welcome to raise your hand, ask in chat. Yes, you are. We typically reset it before every training. So in a few weeks, if it's gone, I'm sorry. The URL will still be the same. It's just the data will be different. But you are still welcome to use this to kind of play around and be familiar with it. In about 1 minute, but as you guys are doing that, I'll go ahead and share the screen just to kind of walk through it a little bit as well, in case you're stuck anywhere. When we go to structure and block layout, you are presented the page of regions. When you guys add a new block, whether it's place block or through what's called the custom block library, the custom block library, if you ever need to go back to it to find the block that you were editing, and let's say you don't have it on the block regions, and for some reason, you're able to go to the custom block library and you can find it in the list that's presented to you, and you may edit there as well. I did mention before that there is a block type. That's how we have some of our current basic functions that we use, such as the accordions, your banners. A lot of it's built with those ones. when you place the block, and I'm just gonna grab title, for instance, just to kind of give an idea. You're presented with a configure block after you make your custom block. Or if you just select one from the list like I did, you get presented this page in particular. The title is what you would name that administrative name that you would give your block. You do have the option to display it if you so desire, and you have the option to not display it. Some people want to, sometimes blocks don't need it. For instance, if it's templated from a vendor that you guys get to help build your site, they may turn it off just because it's duplicative if they try to add the title to it. You will also see, this is kind of more of an advanced thing, but you will see what's called a machine name. I know in this presentation it mentions machine on the side, so it doesn't put it together. This is kind of that backend system. You can only name it once this way type of name. It lets us, if we were to ever call it in a theme or in a special way on the back end, we would go and find the machine name. That's what that is for, in case any of you guys were wondering what that was. It lets us kind of specifically target that instance of the block. The visibility section, you're able to change where it may appear. You can tell it to go on certain content types. If you guys use taxonomy, you can tell it only certain taxonomy terms, pages. If you have a web form, you can tell it very specifically which pages, which URLs to attach to, or you can tell it to hide for only those selected pages. If you have a very robust kind of internal website, maybe you might need to restrict it to a specific role. And then there's another section for web forms. This looks like the results. I haven't quite played with it before though. If you do have custom styling, you can also apply a CSS class to it. Let's see, we have one here for image. Not it's set to the leadership pages. So if we were to find the leadership pages, which I think somewhere, I don't know if it's this one or not. I don't think so. No, it's not this one. Oh no, maybe. Yeah, it is. It'll show up there. That picture needs to be fixed. I'll have to look at that one later. So whoever put that there, keep it there. We'll go ahead and continue. But there is a twist with adding blocks and using Layout Builder. Layout Builder actually doesn't behave the same as you would expect everywhere else in Drupal to be. The page that I was just on about where the block listing is per region, that one is very good because you always have the same blocks reused that can be accessible and grabbed. It's always listed there. In Layout Builder, however, you can't pick from those, that list. But if you were to add something direct to the page through Layout Builder, it actually will not show up anywhere else to be reused. That is one of the faults with Layout Builder at this point in time. And I don't think we have a fix for that yet. But for this task, I did want to familiar you guys with Layout Builder. With the page that you did create, if you can go back to it, and what I'll do is I'll share this as well. If you go back to it, you will have a tab up here just for layout, and that is where we want to be right now, is to kind of familiarize with that. You can just pick the add block at the top, and it's perfectly fine for this particular session. But I want you to try to add a block. You're welcome to create a custom block if you want to see the difference between the original block page and what's visible for the layout, or you can use one of the blocks that are already been created. you can also add that as well. I'll give you guys a couple minutes for that. And once again, feel free to ask questions, raise your hand, interrupt me anytime if I'm going too fast. In case anyone's not familiar with Layout Builder quite yet, if you do save and you want to change it and you're still in the Layout Builder mode, if you hover over the top right corner, you should get a pencil icon. And that'll allow you, and what you want to choose is configure, and that'll allow you to update the blocks that you add in there. Sometimes there might be two pencil icons because it kind of layers itself. One might be a little bit more needed than the other. As you guys are wrapping it up, I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. If you need me to copy and paste these tasks, just let me know. I'll happily paste them in the chat for you. The final thing that we'll kind of go over and give you a brief review over is views. We use them a lot. You might hear us talk about it, especially when you guys put in tickets with us and you ask why one page is different than this page or why it may not show up here. We may use the term view. And what these are, they're dynamic displays of content that are basically codeless. You could actually throw in HTML if you so desire. Yeah, somebody accidentally put an item into the footer, so it's very big. I'll have to see what got added and mess with it later. But for views, they are codeless. They are ways to build a query of all the data that you are storing in your website. It can be anything from web forms to content to taxonomy terms. It could be a whole bunch of things that you can do with it. It's very powerful. Highly recommended if you're looking to make a kind of a list of pages. I know like we have one site that has a resource page with a bunch of links that they navigate to other places. They use it right now with paragraphs, but it could also be used with views if they desired and wanted to add it that way. So to give you kind of a brief overview, 1 second. Just to kind of show it a little bit before we dive into it. Views is, as I said, is a query. We have the ability to give it a title, which you can see here at the top. I'll kind of go over these kind of the columns very briefly. You have a title to what it is called. You have the format that you're able to set it with. You can set it to tables. You can set it to a list. You can set it to, there's add-ons where you can make it JSON files. You can do a whole bunch of things, CSVs, a lot of stuff. You could tell it what to show, what kind of display you want it to show. If the view allows you to do, or the format allows you to add fields, you're able to add certain fields to only display so it doesn't show everything that's part of a certain page. You could filter it. You could say if it's only published, if it's a content type, and only if it's an alert type, will you show this? You can tell it to sort in a certain way. There are settings so you can give it for block specifically. You have the admin names. You have the ability to sort them. You can tell it how many pages you want or how you want a pager to look, how many items you want to display per page. You can add a header for every single pager page. You get a footer, no results. You can do a lot with this. And we use it quite a lot, even with the stuff that we do. So for instance, we have the default set for, we have a block for announcements, a block for alerts. We have event listings. If you have fancy file delete turned on, there's a special view for that. It does quite a bit. And you can make dashboards with this. You can make just generic display pages for like glossaries and stuff. And kind of just a quick review of what I mentioned. Format allows you to set the kind of output and the settings that's related to that. Fields will tell you what's displayed, how to display it. There are ways you can add custom HTML to it. So if you're trying to make some fancy little div things so things are in line with each field, there is a way of doing it with that. Your filter criteria is just telling it what you want to populate it with. And sort is how you want to display that like what order you want to display that populated field. The settings sections kind of gives you more of that backend. So if you need to find it somewhere else, you can find it. If you make a page, it lets you set the page URL. It lets you set the menu too. So we'll take a quick look at views. Let me share the tab real quick just so I can show you guys where it is. It is under the structure menu and it is all the way down at the bottom. If you click on that, you will be presented with what views we have already. And you're welcome to browse through those. You're welcome to look at them. Like I said, we reset this anyways before every training. So if we break something, we break something, and that's okay. But for this, we'll go ahead and just let you add a view yourself. Fiddle around with it. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be special. We just want you to learn how you can make, the view name, how you want it to tell it to show. And then in this case, we're just wanting to click block settings. And I'll let you guys kind of Poke around with that for a couple of minutes. Again, if you have questions, because I know this is definitely new territory for some people, please feel free to ask. As you guys are messing with that, I'll share this tab again. Just kind of click a few things to kind of show and tell. When you add fields, you get quite a lot of options. You get to be able to tell it to show the field if you want, like a label. It works great with tables because it's just like the very top row. You can tell things to exclude from a display, and that's kind of a more of an advanced thing. But let's say you use a view to make a listing that uses list items but has to be ordered and displayed a certain way with divs and other HTML elements by chance. Doing exclude from display is a pretty good opportunity there to use that because you can set a very granular element to that item, that field, and you can make a separate item later in the list where you can kind of put all those excluded items you wanted and be able to format it like you would an HTML item. That's more of an advanced thing, but it's obviously an opportunity and items that you can do there. Some fields will let you list it to certain contents. The global replace patterns, what you'll see there, if you ever decide to want to do this more programmatically, where it's always the same field or same item that has to be filled into this particular area, that's what just that link is for. Your style settings kind of gives you the ability to customize it if you want to add a class to it. You can rewrite it entirely if you really wanted to, tell it to strip HTML tags. And in the event that it's null to the data, you can say, use this instead when there's no results to display. Your filter criteria, and just so you guys know with filter criteria, it starts with the most top and it funnels to the most bottom. So your top is the very first thing that it's going to organize itself with. Then it'll go, for this case, because this is your content view, it'll go to a content type. And if those two happen to be the same, then it'll go this, that, and everything else. There are options when you click these where you can tell it to be exposed or not. That lets people, or sorry, I was talking about sort, but filter, I mean, lets you be able to restrict it. You can restrict it either through the view, or you can let the end user make their own filter expressions. And that gives you the settings for that. So you can let them, or you can refrain it to only be a basic page, but maybe the title, you give them a little search bar that they could search just the titles on for everything. That's what the filter criteria is. I was getting ahead of myself and starting to talk about sort, and I apologize for that. But sort does work that way as well. You add the fields that you would like to add. You may get the option that says apply all displays. I always go to the top and say this page override or this block override, so it only happens to this particular view. And you get all the same things that you would with filter. You apply it to the display, and that's how you would sort them. You can rearrange as well. So if you have them in and out of order, whether it's filter or sort, you can rearrange those and drag and drop it. So it's a little bit different. And pager, it's really only used if you have a whole lot of items. So say you're making like a blog list or glossary. That's how you can set up, how many things can be listed per page, and how do you want these links to look at the very bottom. And since you guys were adding it as a block, it should be an option through Layout Builder. You should be able to see it. I can go to a page real quick just so I can show. You go to Layout and you go to Add Block. You should be able to see it in this very first list. And it will typically be under Custom Block if you have it set as a block, but sometimes it'll also appear under List Views. It's a little hard to see. It's kind of just how it came by default. But you can also search as well, and it's very responsive to finding it through the title. That does kind of bring us to the end of this session. I do hope it was useful for you guys, and there was a lot of questions in chat itself. I'm happy to take more questions from you if you guys have any, if you guys want to look at anything. We did change our showcase website to be agencyplatform.az.gov, and we're always adding little short videos and trainings that are on the resources page for there. We wholeheartedly recommend to swing by and check it out. Also, under resources training, we do have a form that we would like you guys to kind of poke at if there is anything in your Drupal sites you would like to learn more about, or you'd like to just generally ask about Drupal in general. You are welcome to fill that form out and let us know. We do want to make these trainings and these sessions a little bit more useful for your guys' time. So that way it's always exciting to keep coming to the next one that shows up. The one at the end of this month that we have, the second to last week or last week, that one is more of a work session. We will let you guys kind of bring your site to us. And if you guys have a question we can easily answer right then and there, we'll happily do it. We'll happily guide you through something. If it is a little bit complex, where we find out there's an actual bug, we're going to make a ticket just so you guys are aware. We'll make a ticket and kind of work on that off hours. That way we can get that fixed for you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us. As most of what we had for the training today, you're welcome to have the rest of the time.